We've been brewing lots of beers together, True and Zach and Nick and I. I think that this is probably our maybe fourth or fifth collaboration.
Tim sent a letter out explaining the series and asking if we wanted to be a part of it, and so of course we said yes. We work with local maltsters in Colorado anyway. Almost all of our grain is Colorado malt, and so doing something based around local malt was right up our alley.
And in some of these previous beers that we've made together, we've used Troubadour malt before, and I knew that Zach and Chris already kind of had an existing relationship.
I'm Chris Schooley from Troubadour Malting. It's in Fort Collins, Colorado. You know, one of the things that we wanted to do out of the gate is really just connect people, you know, connect farms to brewers, to malt houses, and really get conversations going around what you could do with malts. It was something that kind of seemed really stagnant for a while.
I suspected that Chris and Tim would get along, and that's proven to be the case.
Tim from Burial reached out and told me about this ambient terrain series. The minute I was on the phone with Tim and talking, you know, we both had a lot of the same ideas around why there needs to be more conversation around malt. You know, there's a lot of the same conversations that Zach and I were having too. It was just really easy to connect.
What appealed to me about brewing a lager in this series with Burial was that lagers tend to be subtly complex beers, and that's kind of driven the whole direction of our beers at True. And so this lines right up with that. Tim had an idea of wanting to do a dark lager, and that sounded good to me. We kind of matches our aesthetic, and I had done a beer with Chris from Troubadour before using some roasted wheat. That turned out really nice, so that immediately sprang to mind.
I knew from my previous experience working with Troubadour via True that Chris had this really great background working in the coffee industry for many, many years, and he knew roasting very well. It was immediately very exciting to me that we would have the opportunity working with them to be able to make something with roasted malts, because really it's the first beer in this series where we had that opportunity. So a Dunkel type dark lager or Munich lager made the most sense.
I know that Tim, in working with the other brewers and other malt houses around the country, is really trying to highlight, you know, regionally what's really special about grains in that area. And so we used our lighter ballad and our darker blue ballad to push some of the color. I did a special roast of some wheat. We were talking about using a roasted malt to make this more of like a dark lager style, what we're calling a high desert dark lager. Tim had put together a recipe. It was a great balance between the Pevic and the ballad malts. I think it's going to have a great, you know, body to support that darker color. I'm really excited for what's going to happen with this beer and how it comes together.